what's up, everybody? Welcome to Vibing with Sleezy, the podcast. This is season 6, episode 4, and I want to thank everybody for listening, tuning, and downloading. The episode with Whitney last week was great, and I want to thank everybody for listening. We talked about cryptids, and we got really deep into that, and I want to thank also everybody that supported episodes 1 and 2 this season. It feels good to be back. It feels good to be communicating and expressing myself, and I've been pumping out the episodes, and I love having guests. So thank you for everybody listening, and I hope you look forward to all the guests. So, my special guest for this episode is Danielle Perkins. Danielle has been on the show before, and I appreciate her coming back. So, Danielle, how have you been?
Oh, good. Just trying to get through this crazy snow. I've been really stir crazy lately. I don't want to get out of the house.
Yeah, snow has been a blizzard here in Louisville. We have seen probably the most snow we've seen in a few years, and it definitely stuck. And then ice came, so it almost shut down 7 to 8 days of the city in certain areas because just getting around. And what's wild, the temperatures raised up. You think it melted a little more, but some of the side streets still have a lot of ice. Do you feel like your area's been paid pretty well?
Yeah, I mean, I live close to a park, so I know they have kind of their own setup. They have some like crew, but I mean, it still is a challenge, especially for as much as we got. I mean, that was nuts.
Oh yeah.
Luckily, my neighbor helped out. He has a riding lawnmower, and he helps me every summer and cuts my grass and stuff. And he's got this contraption where you can add like a scoop at the front of it. And so he actually made um, this whole setup where he came in and like shoveled my whole driveway, like with his riding lawnmower.
Oh,
Like it
that's
was,
sick.
yeah. I was like, oh, that was really clever. So yeah. But other than that, I mean, it hasn't been too bad. But people fly down that road down there, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. Saw somebody's mailbox already totaled on the side of the road. I was like, oh,
I
that's
wonder how many
awful.
mailboxes did get totaled because I saw a lot of street signs hit. I saw a
Yeah.
lot of lights hit. I saw cars in ditches. I actually was driving down Hurstbourne, and this was after the snowstorm, and I see some dude fly into the ditch at Carrabba's,
Oh
and
gosh.
literally it just looked like he was going too fast and he lost a little bit of control and he weaned off there. But yeah, I'm glad it's starting to melt. I'm ready for temperatures to heat up. I'm ready for springtime. I'll tell you that because I
Yeah.
hate the winter and I definitely am not a cold person, and that's one reason why it's like living in Louisville. You got to brace all kinds of weather.
Yeah. We haven't had snow like this in a long time.
So I was going to talk to you about, so you went to some events with me in 2024
Hmm.
and we had a good time, and I wanted to break down those 3 events because we went to the Louisville Slugger Museum, number 1, which was
Yeah.
awesome because we both haven't been there a long time. Number 2, we went to a haunted object show, which,
That was wild.
yeah, that's wild. I want to break that down. And then the third place that we went to was at the Science Center. It was called uh,
Mesmerica, I think.
Mesmerica. Yeah, so I want to talk about that too. So
Yeah.
all 3 of those were different wild experiences, and the Slugger I had been before, but it was so much better this time, and I felt
Because it
like,
was with me.
oh yeah, of course, of course. So yeah, no, we had a blast. So the thing with Slugger was we'll start with that. So when we got to the Louisville Slugger Museum, of course, everybody likes to take a picture with the world's largest bat. I'm glad
Hmm.
that it's there because everybody that's come to town to ever visit me, I got to get their picture in front of it. And for some reason, when I hear people haven't got to take a picture in front of it, it's like my goal to get their ass in front of that bat.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're in Louisville, you got to take a picture in front of the bat.
Exactly.
But when you go in, what was awesome is they have every signature plate for every baseball player that's ever been a Louisville Slugger bat person.
Hmm.
And you think about all the history that's there, that just goes around the front there. And then what was really cool was the Louisville Arcade Expo. Shout out to Corey at the Louisville Arcade Expo.
That was fun.
They're sponsoring a room now,
Yeah.
and it had GameCube, Dreamcast, Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo.
I was
So
all over that Pac-Man
yeah,
old school machine.
you were having a lot of fun with that. So I was going to talk to you. You like, not to get off the top of the Slugger, but you have a Super Nintendo, correct?
It's one of the whatever they call it. It's like the old NES, but they did a remake of it, and it's got all the. I mean, it's like super small, like the size of my phone, pretty much. But it's got all the games actually in it.
Oh, nice.
So it's, I mean, if you went and got one of the old NES games, I mean, there's no. I tried to look into those; they're expensive,
Hmm.
and trying to find, and there's no guarantee because I mean, it's old. So like, what's gonna happen if it get maybe a week out
Got
of
to get
it?
accessories and different things too.
Look the same. I was like, cool, but it's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's upgraded. It's not the same nostalgia, but it still kind of is. You know, you're playing the games and stuff, so
Oh, for sure. And I
fun.
I love I love video games. I get into random things where I've realized just thinking over the years I've had a Genesis, a GameCube, a Dreamcast, a PlayStation. I now have an Xbox One. I've literally touched on every system because I always want to try different games because they make different stuff, but sometimes it's just good to go old school with it. Like
Yeah,
the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis were great. I was a
with the
Sega kid.
Sega. I
Yeah.
love the Sega.
Oh yeah, and something I mentioned on this podcast before, there was a Sega channel in the 90s, and you could take a cartridge and pop it into your Sega Genesis, and it would instantly, like cable, would stream into your TV, and you would get the top 50 Sega games, and you could play them and click on them like on demand.
Oh,
It was on demand before on demand, but only for Sega Genesis, and it was literally called the Sega Channel. That's how big Sega got.
I never knew that actually, and I played Sega.
Yeah, so
Oh
you could pop
man.
the cartridge in and play it. And what was great was every time, you're a kid, you don't know about cable bills at that time, but whenever your parents got the cable bill, they paid for the Sega channel, which who knows what the price was back then, probably $20 or something. They
Okay.
paid for it, and then each month it would rotate and be another round of games. So
I
it
think
was
they do the same
really fun.
thing now, where it's like you can actually play with other players, and you like pay a fee a
Yeah,
monthly.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
knew a friend of mine's kids was doing that, and it
and
was
they're
kind of cool.
and I
Yeah.
think they took that concept and tried to run it with these future things because you want to be able to stream games because not only are games expensive now, like just individually, if you have a platform where I'm just paying a membership a month, they're getting a profit because you're paying each month, but then you can play access to any games. Also, a lot of these systems now, a lot of people don't realize they got full length games for free that you can download. Like it
Mm,
just games that might have been popular, might have not have got downloaded a lot.
yeah.
Somebody's like, fuck it, let's give it to them for free. So in that case, that's what's a cool feature. But I felt like back in the day, just growing up, Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo, you either had one of them, like as a kid. Like
Mm.
it just seemed it just took off so much. There was Sega magazines, Super Nintendo
You had
magazines,
the
like
duck
all
hunt
kinds of
with
stuff.
the gun.
Oh yeah,
And
Duck
shoot.
Hunt's classic.
Yeah,
And
I
so
had fun with that.
so going back to the Louisville Arcade Expo, they're actually going to be in March. So in the middle of March, if you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come out to the Louisville Arcade Expo Friday through Sunday. I'm head of security, so if you sneak in, I'll have to tackle you. But at the end of the day, it's a great time. It's fun. I'm just kidding. We'll just make sure you get your ticket, but I might tackle you. But anyways, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun, and I've done it for now 8 years. And overall, you can play anything you want. You can play classic games, new games. So Corey and them, who have the expedition or expo there at the Slugger Museum, they just put this on for everybody, and you can learn stuff, you can win stuff. There's contests, so come out, and there's actually a duck hunt section. So in one room in the front, there's 20 duck hunts set up on a projector, so
I'll
everybody's
text you
shooting.
about 20 minutes before I get there. Be like, block it off,
Yeah,
Eric. Block it
yeah,
off.
yeah. I'll lock it down. I'll lock it down. So once you get into the Slugger Museum, for people that haven't been there, the world's largest bats in the front. Like I said, you go in. There's the nameplates. They got a gift shop to the left.
You remember the cute couple in the like they wanted a picture too, so we took a picture of them and then they were like, oh well, and then
Yeah,
all I could
yeah.
think about was like, please don't steal the camera, please don't steal
Oh
my
yeah, because
camera,
there was
like
people out, and
my phone.
you're watching them with their phone, and then I'm also like,
It's like I gotta have faith.
I gotta smile and take a great pic, but I'm ready to do a 40-yard dash to get the
Yeah,
phone. So, but no, they were great.
that
But
was
once you
nice.
once you get in, there's like a little information center. You go down to the straight to the right, and then what's really cool, there's a room to the left. You can actually pay to go in there, and you can pick up bats. There's a guy in there from the museum. He'll wear gloves. He'll see all the bats, and that was like a little
I
special
love the
room.
smell of the wood when you
Oh
go in
yeah,
there, the cutting wood.
the wood was a great smell, and they got a movie theater room to the right. And then in the back, where the bathrooms are, there's a giant baseball glove, and they have a replica built in Legos of the Cincinnati Reds ballpark. So there's something for you even before you enter the museum. The lobby space is just sick. And then you go inside, and that's where you can wait in line and you can pick up a bat from a player from every team and hold it. And you can hold Babe Ruth's bat, you can hold King Griffey Jr.'s, and you get to take a picture with them. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I really liked that.
And then we walked through and we saw the different sections, and they got different platforms that go over older players, younger players. But once you get into the main room, you look up and there's all these bats hanging from a little string, and there's different sections of that museum, and then they actually have replica built figures of these players. So like they had Clemente, they had Babe Ruth, they had I believe it was Willie Mays. I mean, it was really cool to see that. They had a lot of awards all over the thing, but then we saw the pitching. We saw the picture.
That was really cool. It was I got a really good video of it, like being on the other end. But like if you watch it from the side view, there's a video on one end of it, and like you're on the other end, and you hit a button, and it makes it real time how quick or like hard those throws that they would throw on, and you're like, oh my god, that's really intense. Like you don't realize. I mean, on TV or maybe being there. I mean, you see it, but like to be actually there and you kind of feel the impact, you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense.
And it's the Philadelphia Phillies pitcher Cole Hamels that they have there on the screen. And you just press the button, and when he throws, it's literally hitting a catcher, like a foam catcher, but you get two different views. So, like she was saying, you get that at bat view, and then you get the side view. And then what was cool too, I also like how the hole for where the ball is coming out, it's literally cut perfect so the ball doesn't, it just comes straight down the pipe. I mean, they got it laser.
Yeah, they did it well.
So then they call you into a room, you wait, there's a little bit of a timer. And then what was funny, I wasn't expecting, but our lady that gave us a tour, she was great, but she was in like an old school like colonial outfit. Do you remember that?
Yeah, she was a sweet lady.
Sweet lady. So she had like a colonial outfit. She brought us in. So when you get in there, you smell the wood. You see the guys working. They're dipping. They're painting.
At the time, remember they actually had it on where they were sawing them down. They said they don't always have that turned on, so that was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, we got to see the full effect. They were really trying to get some orders done. I know gearing up for the next season. So there was a lot of players also on. I saw nameplates that they were working on. And then what was really cool, not only did we get to see them sawn, and then we saw the branding on that one row, but when we got to the back, they were dipping them in paint.
That was my favorite part. I liked the paints. I like the different paints, the different designs. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of companies that order these type of things. They have their branding on it and stuff. I mean, I think it's a piece of Louisville. It's kind of neat. You know? It's a good thing.
Yeah, and Hilrich and Bradsby, the family, they sold the rights over to Wilson, Wilson Sports, but Louisville Slugger won't go away, and it's still in Louisville, and everybody knows it as Louisville Slugger. So at the end of the day, the history that it's brought to the city has been huge. So it's always a good time there. And then when you exit the museum, you get a bat. You get a miniature bat. So, and you get to pick it. So there's literally thousands of them.
So funny. I was like, no, wait, what about that? No, wait, what about this one? And I found one. I liked the darker grain on some of it, not completely, but so I found one that has just a little bit of different, and I was like, that's perfect. But man, you could spend like 5 minutes trying to like sort it.
Because some of them have the glue, some of them have weird enamel, and then there was a lot of different colors
like
and
different shades and stuff and grains, and because I mean, just like a snowflake, right? It's like not one bat is probably the same because all the wood and stuff, right? But
and they're like in a giant mail crate, on
like,
wheels.
Take one on the way out.
You open this big latch and it's like there's thousands of bats. So no, that was super cool. And you can customize your bats there. Like you can get a bat with your name on it or any saying.
Did you see there was a celebrity that just not too
Chevy Chase.
That's right, because he came here for that like holiday thing.
Yeah.
There's a video online with
Mhm.
him in front of it, but yeah, that's right. He got a.
So the thing that's funny about Chevy Chase, like, and that's what I know we'll do on this podcast. We'll get on random subjects, but let me just say this about Chevy Chase. Chevy Chase, great actor, very controversial. Back in the day, he was pretty much a asshole, a lot off camera, and he had beefs with Bill Murray and a lot of his co-stars. And he also was on the show Community, which is one of my favorite shows besides The Office that the NBC did. And he got kicked off the show for making bad comments, inappropriate stuff. So I have kind of read about and followed this Christmas tour, and it seems like he's trying to get back in the light of things. Like he's trying to get back to relevancy. He's being himself. He's selling cards now where he autographed them. He's doing a lot of social media stuff. So I think he's probably realizing the older he's gotten, he needs to kind of, be nice. But I will say this: as much as I've heard I've loved it. I mean, I can't lie. I love his movies, but as much as I've heard the horror stories about him off screen, I thought the Louisville Slugger video he did was very, very well done. And he's 81 years old. So at the end
I
of the day,
saw that the other. I was like, how old is he? I love the Christmas Vacation movie. It's like my favorite all time movie. And yeah, I mean, he's been in a lot of movies, and I was like, oh God, that man is 81 years old. The time is flown.
and he looks so different
Yeah.
because back in the day he was so rail thin and skinny, and now he's gotten older. He's put a lot of weight on. But the thing about it was, I know he's kind of gone through some health issues.
Well, I think his wife was there that was helping him,
Mm.
like majority of the time up there, I think.
And his social media stuff here as of late, it's been more positive, more fun. So I did enjoy the Louisville, Kentucky video. Slugger did him well. He really showed off stuff nice, and then he showed some stuff on Main Street. So I think it was cool that he did that, and it seemed enjoyable. And he does have a really strong fan base on socials. People really like him, but I've just heard so many, you hear so many mixed stories about him, but that was really interesting to see because he got a bat and he put on his bat, "Hit me, baby." That's what he wrote on his. So I don't know why, but that was Chevy's saying, and
Interesting.
he was also very infatuated with I think also the paint process and other processes, but yeah, it's cool to see any celebrity show love down there, and a lot of players come back there.
I want to see that movie that's getting ready. I think Netflix might be actually. It was in the theaters, but that SNL about like when they first started.
That's on.
I want to see that.
Yeah, that's either on Peacock or Netflix. It's SNL 50 or something like that. I don't know.
No, there's something.
Oh,
it's
a
the
movie
actual
too.
movie. It's
Oh,
the
okay.
actual movie where they first got started. Like the first episode aired and stuff, and it's got young Chevy Chase. It's got, I mean, all the cast like in the very beginning. I want to say it was Netflix that are getting ready to release it maybe this week or something. Anyways, but it was in the theater.
No, you're right. There was a
Yeah.
movie, and then
It's
I believe Peacock did like
Yeah.
a little docu series or something.
Because I think they just hit a milestone or something. I don't know, but there's been a lot of press about them lately. So
I like anytime you get to see the historic thing, and I like watching a docu series or a documentary about shows too that I wasn't alive during them they're on, so I can see like that's why I love hearing about Woodstock Festival '69 and stuff like that because you're like or whenever '67 or '69 whenever I'm like oh uh and I could be wrong with the date. I have to look. But with Woodstock, it's just cool to see that because I was like, I wasn't alive during that time. So you like to see how it got set up because you hear the story, and even the one where Limp Bizkit, even the one Limp Bizkit tore up. But so the other thing that we went to was because I also do want to talk about a couple docu series I've watched lately, but the Haunted Objects. Yeah. So the Haunted Objects is a married couple, and I apologize, I don't have their name pulled in front of me, but they are, and I'm going to see if Danielle will pull it up, but with this married couple, they travel around. It was just him, remember? It was just him, but his wife does these shows with him. They have a podcast, and what they do is they get...
Dana and Greg Newkirk.
Yeah, Dana and Greg Newkirk. They're based out of the Cincinnati, Ohio area. They travel around the United States. They also go overseas. They also have people ship in haunted objects to them. And what they do is they take haunted objects, they live with them, they learn about them, they research them, and they try to help people, but also they'll travel to places and help people, but they also do shows and they broadcast their thing. And then with their podcast and YouTube, they've just really grabbed a cult following. So Danielle found out about the show. She invited me. It sounded really awesome. It was also around the Halloween time. And so it was at the Kentucky Center, which the Kentucky Center is such a beautiful venue.
I think it was the Bomar Theater. It was a smaller theater. It was good. I
Yeah,
liked it. It was
very
like a
intimate, very intimate. Danielle got great seats for us. We were up front, and the great thing about it was we had a really cool couple that were like in their 70s next to us. That dude was really funny, had a good personality.
He was hitting on me.
He probably was. He probably was. And to be honest with you, yeah, I think he was eye humping you a couple of times. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, I think he was. I was like, okay, he was harmless.
Because at the end, when
cross the line, he didn't cross the line.
well, at the end, he was like asking me. He was like, where's the lady? Where's the little lady?" I said, "She's up with the
they're
hot
getting
object."
pictures. I'm like, I'm getting 50,000 pictures of this like glass case with this creepy doll in it. We'll get to that in a minute.
So what happened was his wife was sick. She wasn't feeling well. So he did the show. And what they do is they will tell stories about past experiences that they had, and they also will bring the objects with them to show. Well, a few of the objects, they ended up getting made, custom made for their shows of themselves. And they wanted to see if you can make an object haunted, if you can give it the illusion, but also realizing a lot of these ventriloquist dolls and a lot of these objects that are like doll like can get spirits, can have different meanings, and it's kind of how your brain anticipates it.
Yeah, they were telling a story, and I'm paraphrasing it, obviously, because I can't remember all the details. But it was they did a study where it was some city. It's like some painting. There's this whole series of these paintings that I think it was like children or something,
Yes.
where they like crying or something really weird. And it was like a popular thing. Well, one house burnt down and they thought it was the painting. They were like, oh my God. So all these other houses started burning down. And what it come to find out is like they couldn't find any correlation. And it's like all energy exchange. Like everybody thought this. So it was like this mass hysteria and these things started happening without like any real connection to it. It's just the idea of thought. So what he was saying, which I thought was super interesting, and I never really thought about it like this. I mean, I believe in energy exchange and stuff, but to think about hauntings that way, I mean, it makes sense to get trapped in a doll or some crazy, like, oh, that one crazy object at the guy in the
Gary,
wood.
Indiana.
Yeah.
So this story is really messed up. This guy, he ended up he was a janitor for a public school, and he had a lot of issues, a lot of anger, and he ended up finding like making a doll like out of the woods.
Because the voice was telling him to.
A voice was telling him to make a doll in the woods. He made it, and it was demonic like. It was absolutely terrifying. So
making him like telling him to do
telling him to kill people and be violent, and he was a janitor at the school. So in Gary, Indiana is already a dangerous town, so he was losing it. So he called them and told them they needed to come. So they came and they met with him. Empty school where he was cleaning, and they went into a classroom and they actually videoed it, and he was telling them all the evil things it was telling them to do. So
it freaked me out. The video.
Yeah, the video
they
was
blocked him out with his voice and stuff, obviously, but it was creepy.
It was very creepy, and what happened was he basically told them that the figure was telling him to hurt them and kill them. So they took it, got out of there because they didn't want to deal with him, and then they got to their van and just realized how scary it was. And what was also really freaky was when they first got there, they didn't know where the guy was at, and he came up to the van and was like, "Come inside." But when they went into the empty school with the object and that's when he started being a complete different person and violent.
Am I making this up? Like the lights were flickering. Like there was all this weird stuff that was.
A lot of weird stuff in that classroom. It was a really large industrial classroom. Yeah, the video he showed, you could see him sitting at one of those old school table desks where he was kind of talking to them, and they were sitting on the desk, kind of like hearing him out, but they could also tell there's something not right. And so that happened to them. They also had a couple dolls where they've had in the house. They've also had some famous things that they've taken, and then they have beef with Zach from Ghost Adventures. It's not that they hate him. It's just their beef with him is the haunted museum, and how, talking about what Danielle said, how people can grasp onto a theory and latch it on about Post Malone went to the Zach Museum, stayed the night there, and then he ended up getting a plane crash. And so it's kind of like, was it just a bad plane? Was it his experience there? But Zach
Or
sometimes
manifesting his own
destination.
like destination.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, how some people think that's, woo woo or whatever. But I mean, how can we not like be those strong people that will, that mind of ours? Like,
Mm-hmm.
we only tap into like so much. Like, it, I mean, how can it not happen? Like, not all the time, but I mean, to the point where you manifest that into your reality.
Oh, I totally agree, because we were actually talking about this earlier. Danielle and I got together for the show and caught up, and the thing about it was we had listened to Mac Miller, and Mac Miller's new album came out yesterday. Rest in peace to Mac Miller. I was a big Mac Miller fan, saw him live, still am, and love all his music. I actually have a giant self care painting in my living room of Mac Miller. So I'm glad that his estate is still releasing music, but this will be the final album. But I'm actually going to I need to check it out here soon. So the thing about Mac, though, I was playing a lot of the classics for Danielle, and I was playing some of his old stuff that I grew up on. And the one song that I was sharing with Danielle, when Mac Miller died, the day before, he went to Young Thug's studio and recorded a song with Young Thug that went on Young Thug's album. And literally the day before he dies, and the song's called The Day Before. It was his last song he ever recorded.
Crazy.
So that's really, really mind blowing, and makes you just wonder and think like how all that kind of came into light. But
Well, what I was saying before is like, you know, who knows if we've had past lives? Who knows like what happens when we leave here? I mean, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, right? There's so many options, but maybe in a weird way, like your higher self, your soul, someplace in your deep subconscious knew. And so, like, that kind of came out, right? That kind of creative outlet came out, and it was like, he knew,
yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe it was a coincidence. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it was just a luck. It's just hard to believe certain coincidences like that are so knitted together.
No, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. And I think it just kind of depends on how things align. I mean, at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day. But with the show, what was interesting was once the show's over, they brought objects. You could go look at them, go take pictures. They were put in a very bad location. The Kentucky Center has a lot more space, but they had another show going on. So it was one of these cases where you're trying to get as many people to be able to see the objects,
Yeah,
but
one of the bigger plays was going on or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was very, very creepy to see them, because you didn't know what was in them, and you also realize that these are objects that he had just disclosed during the show. So definitely recommend if they come to town, check out their podcast, and they also have a YouTube channel, and they document and show a lot of these things. And I know that they've been doing this for more than a couple years, so
Yeah,
there's already a
a
cult
while.
following. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
it was really interesting. I'm glad we went.
yeah.
It was there was a couple times it made my hair stand up on my arms a little bit, and I was like, ooh, that's crazy.
The Gary,
Yeah.
Indiana story was over the top. Like that was I wasn't I was not I was like, holy
Yeah,
shit,
that
that's
was
scary.
so weird on so many levels. And then a quick note circling back to that, like they lost touch with the dude, and then they found out that he went out there and he made another one, and like they kind of lost
Yeah.
touch with the dude. Like there was no ending to it, and you're like, wait, but what happened? Like, and they have no idea. It's like he's still out there, and you're like, holy crap.
And I think he was also harassing them maybe a bit, like, hey, like trying to make calls to him or something. They're kind of like,
Yeah.
hey, we gotta rip the band-aid on this guy.
Yeah, you don't mess with stuff like that. I couldn't. Whew,
No, and especially of all places, Gary, Indiana. It's like Gary, Indiana is
that
a
place
city.
is the energy is charged, like evil energy.
Yeah, the thing with Gary, if you haven't been there or heard about it, Gary, Indiana is one of the murder capitals of the United States. It's very low income. I know that they're trying to do some development. You actually got to go through there to get to Chicago sometimes, and that's actually kind of quicker. You don't have to, but you can get off the exit and drive through. They have a minor league baseball stadium, so there is a few things there they have nice, but the deal with Gary, it was one of these industrial towns that took off Midwest and it left, all the industry left. And so the city died. And then, crime hit. There's the rapper Freddie Gibbs is from there, but it just doesn't have a lot of hope. So to hear that the guy was a janitor at that school and going through this evil thought and evil wood making process for years, it's kind of like, would he ever find some positive energy? Like it'd be probably very tough there.
Well, and I think he had his own demons that kind of speared from that. I want to say there was like a bad backstory, like with him. I don't know, his wife left him or something. I don't. It was like one thing after another. Like I can't remember all the details, but it. I mean, he already had kind of these thoughts and these just like screw everything kind of mentality, and so I think it just kind of like took over.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And the thing too that I liked about the show was that it it opened your mind about the possibilities of the situations and everything that can really happen. Now, talking about open your mind possibilities, so we have at the top floor of the Kentucky Science Center, which is on Main Street, close to Slugger Museum. If you haven't been to the Kentucky Science Center, check it out. It's got a wonderful IMAX. It's one of the biggest theaters in the city, and it might be the biggest theater. Like talking about screen size, not theater size, screen size. It shows IMAXs for $5. So they have Africa, rockets, rainforest, all kinds of cool IMAXs. But there was a special event there, and Danielle was able to get tickets for us, and it's called
Mesmerica.
Mesmerica, yes. And so I always had kind of trouble remember the name, but Mesmerica, and you got there, you checked in, you got wristbands. Well, the theater was packed, and the good thing about it is you want to go in there a little bit lit, a little bit feeling good, because at the end of the day, when you go into the theater, you are seeing all the elements of this show. So this show is talking to you and it's motivating you, giving you positive light, but it's shooting light, shooting colors, shooting shapes.
Like a very crazy guided meditation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And for that large screen, it was almost to like the long duration. It was great. But what me and Danielle were laughing about, a lot of people left during the show that were older. That were, yeah, there was
halfway through or 2/3 of the way through, people just started getting up and leaving. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, it was very weird because it was a good price ticket, and at the end of the day, I was shocked that everybody was leaving. So me and Danielle just kept taking it in, and it was very positive, it was very aligned. And like I said, you really had to absorb the lights, and I think some people might not even be able to deal with so many lights, but you saw so many colors, so many graphics, and it was very.
It is right. Like it's colorful. It's supposed to provoke a feeling and a mood. It's not like sitting down and watching a movie in the theater where there's a plot and like stuff like that. I mean, maybe people weren't understanding what they were really getting into. Maybe they didn't want to just sit through, colors and a waste of time or whatever. I thought it was great. I mean, it's not something I would do every single week or anything, but it's something to just chill and do something different. And
Oh yeah.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I thought it was really cool, just all the different colors, and then the message overall was great. There was a lot of different shapes, but he also was teaching about life and how to look at stuff, and was teaching about how people would do things in other cultures. So it was not only relaxing, it was very informative. And what's cool about that IMAX, it's actually 2 floors tall. So the third floor goes up to the fourth floor, and it's beautiful. And then I've mentioned this before on the show. If you're ever in the Cincinnati area, hit the Omnimax up. The Omnimax is wonderful. It's a giant dome, and it is literally the coolest experience ever. And wow, that was a lot of fun. Me and Danielle went to that, and it's just still hilarious to me that when we cut through there since that graduation.
Yes. Wasn't it Taylor Swift's boyfriend was there?
Yeah,
Or something
Travis
like,
Kelsey was there.
and I was like, oh, I was like, well, no, Taylor's not here because it's not that crazy with like security guards and SWAT
Yeah.
like getting, you know, handcuffed to like leave and stuff. But like
The Bears mascot, this Bearcat mascot, he was in a tux, and I thought that was hilarious. But we're walking up, we're
so
like on
random.
screen, we're on screen for a minute, like, oh my bad, dude's
Like,
talking on the mic. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. But so I do want to talk about also health, and so something that I've shared with you, and I don't think I broke down to the listeners a lot. As of December 1st, I've quit eating fried foods. I've gotten away from eating that. I've lost weight from it. I'm still battling the drinking soda time to time or like a sweet tea. That's kind of like my go-to. But cutting back sweets, cutting out those foods, it's been great. I know you've practiced this way for a long time. You had to quit drinking soda to get away. That was something that you got away from.
yeah.
How did what was your motivation and how did you get away from it? Like, what was your process?
Well, I mean, honestly, it was kind of forced. I going back years ago, like in my late 20s, I got out of a relationship. Well, at the time, I'll admit it, I had to file bankruptcy in my 20s. Kind of sucked, you know. I was with a significant other, and unfortunately didn't work out. And I had most of the bills in my name, so it was like situation. I was like, well, that sucks. Anyways, fast forward. Because of that, I started working a second job at a video store of all places, which doesn't exist anymore. I loved it, but the pay was not great. But it was something fun, and you get free rentals. And I mean, I love movies, whatever.
Yeah.
But the reason why is because I had a student loan you couldn't put on there. Plus, I had bought my first car brand new, and it was something that I earned blood, sweat, and tears. And I was like, you know what? Car.
Mm-hmm.
But payment so was a little bit high. So long story short, I had to work 2 years at a second job, and but it was my choice, like let me do it or whatever. Well, at the time, I mean, right across the street, I mean, I would work my regular job, go into my second job right after work till midnight, then have to close, have to come back home, try to go to sleep, and then like go to my regular job again, and it was just tiresome. And like the only real food and caffeine was like junk and like the McDonald's across the street, and they have the best soft drinks, right? Out of those like machines.
The Coke's amazing.
Yes. And I used to work there. It was my first job. Anyways, I knew. So that's what I lived on. Like, I was on the go. I wasn't sleeping well. I was like, running ragged. And, I was younger and I could, but eventually it wasn't sustainable.
Mm.
So one of the things that I decided to do was I was on anxiety meds at the time at the very end. I stopped taking them, but it was a process and dealt with some other things. And I decided to just kind of make the leap with my health. I'm like, you know what? Oh, I don't feel great. I gotta do a reset. And like one of the big things is like, okay, I'm gonna start doing some more research and really start eating healthy and not like junk all the time. And so one of the big things was I was like, I'm gonna stop soft drinks. I'm gonna try it, cold turkey. Just boom, stopped. And it's been like over 20 years. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, every once in a while, like if I go out, which I rarely drink anymore. If there's like a spritz of Coke or something, I don't count that. But like to sit down and have a soft drink, yeah I don't drink that. Drink water, tea, coffee. I mean, juice, you gotta be careful of that, sugar, whatever. But and there are some substitutes, like I miss the carbonation, right, of a soft drink. But you can get the carbonated water, and they're not the greatest, but it kind of fulfills that need a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Flavor. So, but honestly, it was kind of forced. Like I feel like we all grow down a path, and you start listening to your body, and you start listening to, like, okay, this is not sustainable. I don't want to feel like this. There has to be a different way, right? So, eventually I did quit the second job. I got everything aligned, paid off the car, and then move forward. But like that stuck with me, and it's baby steps. You make one small thing, it doesn't have to be a whole 360. That's hard. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
And maybe just a small thing like, oh, I drink a soft drink a day. Okay, maybe you cut it down to once a week. It's a small progression because then you start not wanting it as much. One of the things that I incorporate is like these amazing greens or something like that. It's like a green powder that like you could drink with water or whatever, and I drink that every day. I started noticing I don't crave sugar as much for some reason. I'm getting some type of something out of that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have my sweets on occasion,
Yeah.
right? But
Everybody's got
yeah, but honestly, I can drink black coffee. Never thought I could do that, but cutting out the soft drinks, there's so much sugar in them. And like once your body gets used to it, you're just like, oh, this is how it feels.
Yeah. And I really been, that's the one thing I've been weaning back. Like the fried foods, the eating better, lack of fast food's been very easy. But when it comes to the soda intake, that's the battle. But I do feel like I've cut back. Not having them at the house has helped. Getting on like not energy drinks, but like sports drinks. Like some, I know that those still have it, but even drinking the zero sugar Powerades and stuff, they've helped. And so I really, really have enjoyed that. I was actually going to ask you a random question. Have you been to the Publix on Old Henry Road?
No, I have not.
So let me tell you about Publix. I fuck with Publix hard. I'm not gonna say grocery shop wise, I haven't been there to fully grocery shop, but and I'm not endorsed by Publix, but I just have to say this.
I mean, I've heard good things.
It's amazing. Yeah, I've had it in Florida. I've had it in Tennessee, but I had it in Hendersonville for the first time, a pub sub. Their subs, I will say this right now, is the best sub out there. You go to Publix during like a 12 to, or not, excuse me, like 10 to 7 window, you can get a sub. They will give you whatever meat, cheeses. They got this Italian multi-grain, 5 grain bread. They put any toppings you want, any kind of, they toast it. It is gourmet. It's perfect. It's huge. It's filling. It's $10.90 for a sub. I'm telling you right now, it's the best sub you ever have.
Interesting.
In the corner. So when you walk into Louisville Publix, in the right corner, it'll say sub sandwich. It's literally what they're known.
Did they have any veggie stuff though?
Oh yeah, like I got mine fully loaded.
Oh, interesting.
It is out of this world, and they have the pub sub, and then they got their little chicken section stuff, which I've talked to people that love their tenders and everything. But I'm telling you, their deli, their meals, all that stuff's great. But the pub sub is where it's at. $10.90 be best sub you ever had. So
I'd like to venture out there.
yeah, I'm craving one now. But at the end of the day, I'm telling you, they are mind blowing. But that's really awesome that you fought the cravings and you've lasted that long to 20 years. I know that a lot of people say, oh, I do eat healthy. You really do. I can vouch for you. So I think it's great that you stuck with that. And so I wanted to kind of see how you did it. And the thing about it too is, there's memes out there talking about McDonald's sodas. Like you'll see an alligator on the side of the road flipped upside down. It looks like it might have been hit or something like that. And there's like somebody has a McDonald's cup back, and the meme says, "Oh, that gator had McDonald's Sprite for the first time." It's just because it's so crispy,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so you see those and you're like, damn, that's gonna put.
Get it. Like I used to work there. It was my first job, which I mean, yeah, it's one of those situations like I would hate, let me back up. So much in that industry, they have to endure so much. Like I would never go back into that industry and work there because it's so different now. And I liked it for the people, honestly. I mean, it was hard work. I don't care, like just because it was McDonald's, it was hard work.
Oh yeah,
and it was a prime location over here. And it was go, go, go. People wanted in and out, go, from lunch. They only have 30 minutes. They want to get through that drive through. Like it was crazy. But those soft drinks, and man, people loved it because it was $1. Here you go, dollar. Cheaper than even going to a gas station. But whatever was in it, that syrup was hardcore. Like it was something about it, and it was really good. I mean, I used to drink them all the time.
The thing that's crazy, you'll see some people that they'll have a mixture of the Pepsi brands, a mixture of the Coke brands on their tap. Some people do all Coke brands. Some people do all Pepsi
They
brands.
had all Coke.
And you see the different ones. And so I'll admit what I get hyped on is I'll see like those places you go and you see the local soda or the random sodas that you don't really see a lot. And when I saw L8 on draft, it blew my mind. I was like, this is one of the best tasting sodas. It's just so damn good.
Yeah.
But so something I was going to talk to you about that I was mentioning before the show. I believe I have shared this on the podcast. Actually, I might even share this a little bit on episode 2, but we were talking about a lion safari up in Canada, and we were laughing about the whole Canadian story and the whole adventure. And I went to Canada.
I was crying.
Yeah,
I was laughing
yeah.
so hard. I was
Yeah.
dying.
So I went I know I mentioned this a little bit on the podcast of with Christine, but I went to this place called the African Lion Safari with my buddy Eddie Rice up in Toronto, Canada, but it's 2 hours south of Toronto. It's in Ontario. And it's about like 20 minutes off the exit. And so we get there and freaking you can either pay to get on a bus or pay to drive yourself, and you drive
Don't
through.
forget the waiver.
Yeah, the waiver. Yeah, I had to sign a waiver at the time. This was 2013. Got in there. There's people with a sniper rifle, and it goes in.
You pretty much said, "Hey, keep the windows up. Enter at your own risk.
Yeah, yeah.
Have at it. 2 hours. Boom."
And so,
I'm like, what?
So going in, seeing farm animals, then seeing lions, and you go in these different pods, and then you see the African area where I almost had an ostrich get
They
me.
leave the lions to the end. That was the funny part about your story, is you were like,
oh, so the second part at the farm, yeah.
You're like, wait, oh, next one. Wait, all these animals, where are the lions? Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm like, there they are. I'm like, it's not just a farm. So that was a lot of fun. But talking about going to Canada and just talking about going up north there, it was that was a wild story. I had to break that down, but I remember that was one of the craziest strip clubs I've been to. Crazy, just a crazy time and encounter. But no, I feel like something I want to announce that I'm excited about. I'm actually going to start working at the zoo this year. So the Louisville Zoo.
For you, yeah. I think that's perfect.
Thank you. And I've always wanted to work at the Louisville Zoo. It's been a dream and passion. I don't know if it's long term. I don't know if it's short term. I'm going to do the 9-month seasonal run. I've done so many different industries and worked, and I usually give them 5 years each. And I've been off for a while and relaxing and clearing my head and getting stuff done and traveling. And it's been a blast. I'll be honest. Being off this long has been a real blessing. So I'm excited to get back out there and, do the podcast, do my eBay hustle, my notaries on the side, but finally work somewhere where I love zoos, been to zoos, and it's a dream. I really want to see what can happen and maybe some long term down the road. But I'm just excited to be there this year in 2024. So if you're at the Louisville Zoo, say what's up. I'll be in admissions and membership and give it a try. And let's see. Let's see what happens. Yeah, fuck it. So the other thing I want to talk about, me and Danielle were watching, and something that is very, very interesting to think about. When you're in the woods or hiking, you don't really think about encountering a bear unless you're like in Gatlinburg or the Smoky Mountains. So we watched a few bear videos here.
So yes, and let me pivot for a second, because this is something I don't think I told you yet, is that I actually encountered a bear one time.
Wow.
In Gatlinburg. However, it wasn't super close or anything like that. I think it was a smaller bear. So in Gatlinburg, I was with my ex at the time, and in Gatlinburg, of course, most people know you can do horse trails. They're all guided trails. The horses know, they're always doing it, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, that's cool. And you go through the woods, and it's beautiful, and it's very, it clear your head. It's just very
relaxing.
And so there's about 8 or 10 of us, maybe, on this guide, and we were in the very back, which is fine by me. And sometimes you have to kind of catch up and stuff, but I've been on a horse before. Now, to take off and like go ride all crazy, no, I'm definitely not that experience, but I'm on a horse. I get it. Like, I know enough.
Yeah.
to be safe. And so it was so funny because we started trailing behind a little bit, and all of a sudden, my horse stops, and I was like, "What the hell? What is going on?" He looks over, and I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. It made me feel like I was in a cartoon or something. His eyes got big, and just he took off, and I was like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And like I wasn't prepared, and like he completely took off and just and we caught up, but he went so fast, and we were so far behind. I was just like, "Oh my god, do I like? I don't want to fall."
Mm-hmm.
But what had happened was he saw a baby bear that was like walking, and it spooked him. Which I'm thinking to myself, I'm sure they see them all the time, but for some odd reason, he just got spooked and he took off. And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I didn't even get a chance to really look at the bear. I was so like holding on, unexpectedly.
And I the thing about bears are I was showing you this video where it was like the top four bear encounters in the woods and stuff. And what's wild, I like watching these videos where people experience wild animals, will see wild tigers or lions, and it's just kind of fun to see the wildlife. But the thing about these bear videos, they give you real anxiety. I mean, we
That
were
first one we watched, where he kept, I mean, a good 5 minutes, and that bear was still running after him.
yeah, and
And
then
I was like,
a gunshot from the woods that wasn't even targeting the bear, him gets shot off, and that's the only reason the bear
yeah.
was startled.
Well, hopefully the bear was good. Like, I felt bad about that part, but I was just like, dude, this guy was on like what, a dirt bike or something. I mean, he was staying with him the whole time. Usually bears, in my mind, they like kind of go after you, but then once you go in the direction, they don't want to mess with you anymore,
And
right?
he had two forks in the road to choose it like twice, and
That bear
finally
was
one
on him.
time it stopped him where a log was, and he had to run. And
Yeah.
so hiding behind that tree, I felt like whatever hunter was shooting that gun, I don't know if that bear would have eventually found him. Also, too,
Right place at the right
he
time.
picked it, yeah, and he picked a very skinny tree to hide behind. So that
Yeah.
was wild. And then we watched one where this is in Sweden, and a guy's got his husky, and he's a wilderness guy, and he likes to shoot sights and trees and the outdoors. So he's on top of a smaller mountain, and there's a bear up in a tree, probably a 20-foot tree, and it spots the man in the husky.
And
Well,
keep in mind, it's a cub. Like,
it's
it's
a
not a
cub.
full grown.
Mm.
It's like a maybe not a baby, but like smaller.
And it just literally starts walking, and it's probably a half mile far, and it walks all the way towards the mountain area, and he's screaming like, "Get away, stop," because he doesn't want the bear to attack him and his dog. He also doesn't have anything armed at the time, so he just has like a little backpack and his little ladder. Well, the bear starts running up the mountain, so
Even more
yeah,
when he was talking,
yeah.
he was like intrigued, and so he took off even faster. I was like, "Oh my god!"
And so it was so close, and he had to throw some boulders down, like little miniature rocks, to scare off the bear. And he's yelling in Swedish, he's yelling in English. So at the end of the day, it was just a lot of noise and intense. And then his dog's going back and forth. He had actually leashed his dog so the dog wouldn't take off. And then we're watching a video, a place that I've been, Norway. I love Norway. A guy was in northern Norway, and he was walking, and he just walks up on a grizzly bear in the no, excuse me, it wasn't a grizzly bear. I think it was just a brown bear in Norway woods, and it just started. It might have been a grizzly, but it started taking its paws and smacking the ground like he was playing defense.
The guy was, yeah, trying to talk to, like, shoo him away, like yelling at him, like get him, because that's what you normally do to like scare him away, and just like loud noises. And he wasn't having it. He was staring right at him in his eyes and just planted those paws down, like, "Nope, I am not moving." And I was like, "Oh my god, what is gonna happen?"
Yeah, I was. It was intense, and when he was smacking the paw, you could see the claws how big, and the bear almost seemed like at first he wanted to attack the guy, and then he seemed annoyed, like, "You're in my area." And he started kind of walking towards. So the guy was just making noises. I was sharing with Danielle when I was in Norway. I was on a hike up in the mountains in an area that was a little bit a few hours north of Oslo, and I go up there and I'm in a little water spot, and I walk, and my friend Celine stops me because I'm grabbing these like little acorns, and she's like, "That's moose poop." And I was like, "Oh shit." Well, I open it up and I look, and there's a moose and two younger mooses, and she's like, "We gotta get out of here." So we started running almost like 2 miles down the hill because we had to get away from the mooses. It was really cool to see in the wild because I love and infatuate with moose, but it was crazy. And then as soon as we get back to the house, her dad had killed a reindeer and was about to cook that for
Just
dinner.
when your
So
story was getting crazy, I was like, what?
yeah,
Reindeer?
it was really good. It was tender, but yeah, it had reindeer and some Baileys. So in a cabin
And
in
Baileys.
Norway, yeah, it was wild. It was a lot of fun. But there was actually sheep down at the bottom of the mountain too, which were cool. They were like you could tell they were tagged like somebody that was their sheep, but they were very social. They had their little sheep pen house you could go in. They were just doing their thing. But all that wilderness, reindeer, moose, you don't think about all that stuff in Norway and the bears. So there's a lot of wildlife, and you actually would see polar bear crossing signs when you're over there and stuff. So
Wow.
so that was just super cool to see. And polar bears are really the only bear that actually like craves human meat. Like the bears there in the wilderness, they're just hungry. They might just want to attack. They'll eat. Of course, there's some that'll eat you, but I'm saying polar
They
bears are
do
the
it
ones
more
that
out
go.
of defense,
Mhm.
thinking that they're gonna be attacked or like cubs or like something along threatened in some degree, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. And the thing about the two grizzlies we got out at the Louisville Zoo, if you've never been to the Louisville Zoo, check it out. Um, they they saved those two grizzly bears in Montana. They were actually killing chickens, and there's like a three strike rule where they'll put a bear down if it keeps messing with like chicken farms or
Yeah.
farm. And these two got saved, and they got brought to the Louisville Zoo. So it's been very distinct, and I think a lot of this stuff I've probably shared before, but what's crazy is they put dye in the bear's food, so like when it poops, you can tell which bear is which, and they'll study it to see its health and benefits. So you,
Interesting.
yeah, so sometimes you'll look and you'll see, oh, there's pink turd, that's the polar bears. Oh, and the polar bear and the grizzly switch off. They're never out at the same time, of course, but they switch off, and you'll see there's the blue poop, the orange poop. That might be this bear's.
Okay, so changing subjects. Favorite thing at the Louisville Zoo?
For myself, I definitely say Gorilla Forest just because I've had connections with Jelani and I've had connections with the gorillas out there where, the gorillas interact with my phone and stuff. I just love that, and I feel like we have done a very well job. But my sleeper pick, and something that I don't think gets enough love or recognition, is the Addicts. The Addicts is a antelope that actually, yeah, got a little. They got the horns, but the thing about them are there was only like 17 in the world, and the Louisville Zoo's already bred like 35, and so it's getting to a point where our zoo has brought that animal back because there's just not many in the wild. I actually talked about that with Whitney, a lot of the random antelopes that are out there, and I would definitely say that is a sleeper pick.
Which one do you think is my favorite animal? If you knew me.
I would definitely say for you, in my opinion, I would say not at our Louisville Zoo, at our zoo, I would say I think the elephants.
Elephants are close. Those are like my top, but I love the sloths.
Yes.
But I know we haven't always had the sloth, but honestly, the one that's always there, and I don't know why, sea otters. Sea otters are great.
Oh yeah,
I
they're
don't know
fun.
why. I just love watching them. Maybe because I'm such a dog lover. Maybe they remind me of dogs. I don't know. I'm being weird, but like
Yeah.
I could picture having one. Obviously, I wouldn't. But I just think they're so cute. But I love elephants too. They are the most. If you ever read about an elephant, they are the most emotional creatures. Like they actually show
Oh, they're
emotion,
smart.
and they're very smart, majestic. I mean, very spiritual animals, I think.
They teach their babies a lot. A lot of people don't realize they teach an elephant way that a lot of the smaller elephants wouldn't know unless they get taught by their older elephants. Now, the Louisville Zoo's given their two elephants up to the elephant sanctuary, so we won't have elephants anymore. A lot of elephants are going to sanctuaries to have more space. The more we learn and develop about the creatures, zoos are so important for conservation, to educate, to do things. I could go on and on why zoos are important, but at the end of the day, it's good for these elephants to go there. But I do think another animal that you probably like that is not at the Louisville Zoo, but you probably like wild dogs, African wild dogs,
Oh
and
yeah.
yeah, those because you're a dog person. Then also too, I know that hyenas, they're always very entertaining too. We don't have those either, but they're very interesting and very fun to see. And so I like going to different zoos as well. Of course, people know, but it's also to see different animals. Like when you go to the Cincinnati Zoo, there's animals there that you wouldn't see at other zoos, and
Yeah.
that's why they're so highly ranked. And I was sharing with you when I went to the Toronto Zoo with Eddie back in the day, they actually had a moose in a zoo. Now, a fun fact: mooses are very uncommon at zoos. They can't survive as long, and a lot of times they're there because they need special treatment and stuff. So to see a moose and for Toronto to have that, it was really cool. But it also it fits Toronto, Canada. Like
Yeah.
you wouldn't put a
Makes sense.
moose down at the New Orleans Zoo or anything.
No.
But at the end of the day, it was really cool to see that in that aspect. So I wanted to ask you. You had tried a new food place. You said for breakfast. What is this place?
House of Marigold.
So did you like it? It was good.
Yeah, yeah. It's over off of Shelbyville Road. And it's a local um couple, I think, that owns it. And I think they just opened a second location in Norton Commons,
Mm.
which I think is great, especially when we went off. Like, I love seeing local like restaurants, company, anybody local like survive and like thrive and like to open another location is great. But yeah, it's a breakfast place. I think it opens at like 9 to like in the afternoon. They have like breakfast and like some lunch stuff and everything. And they just have really creative like food there, like stuff, and a lot of it's locally grown,
Mm.
food, which I think is an A plus. It's a win-win, and supporting the community as much as possible. But I'm a big foodie. I like food. I like trying new things. I mean, I try on the healthy end, but sometimes you gotta splurge every once in a while. But most of the stuff they have there, I mean, is really, really good and mainly healthy for the most part. I mean, it's sweets and stuff like that, and I think they have a fried chicken and waffles or something, or maybe on a biscuit or something like that. But for the most part, I mean, a lot of it's really healthy.
Mm. Yeah, I'll have to try that out. I like trying the new places and new items. I definitely noticed that a lot of places in town, you know, if you give them a shot, their menu just starts getting better and better. Like Con Huevos, I never been there, and now it's like it's the pop and
It's pretty
breakfast.
good,
It's
yeah,
very good,
yeah.
and I like trying those places, and then also too like I'll get on DoorDash and I'm like, ooh, I want to try this. I want to try this new thing.
Another cute place that I like. It's a coffee place, that Witches
Mm-hmm.
Brewery place. I went in there and like the coffee's great and the people are great and stuff like that. But people, I think it's the ambiance. Like it's this really cool, like witchy vibe. I think right now it's like Harry Potter, like decorated or something. But that's another locally owned place, and it's just something different and something fun to like go do. Like get tired of doing the same old thing over and over
Oh yeah.
again, right? I mean, I hate to say the old cliche. Like I'm not a big partier. Like I don't go out to the bars just to drink and just to be there.
Yeah.
But usually like music is related. Like if there's most bands are at places like that, right? I've been heavy into like a lot of the Broadway plays and musicals and like orchestra and like just shows and comedy, definitely comedy,
Mm.
and just things like that. But restaurants like that, it's just nice to see. The Witches Brew, like I said, it's a really cute little place. The only bad thing is like there's not a whole lot of space, so like a lot of people gather there, and so it's hard to always find a seat. But I mean, it's a great problem to have.
Once you're in there, it's a good vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I like to downtown the at the bottom of the Hotel Moxie. There's a place called Zombie Taco,
Yes.
and it's got great tacos, nachos, burritos. It's got a
It's
bar.
connected to a hotel, I believe, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's at
Yeah.
the bottom of the
Yeah.
Moxie at the
They have
backside.
breakfast stuff too, I think.
Yeah, and their stuff hits. They got games. They got entertainment. It's just a really chill spot, and I don't think a lot of people know about it because you're inside a hotel. But it's literally a really cool place. You can literally live in Louisville, just pull up and eat it like a regular restaurant. But it's got that fun, relaxing vibe. And I'm a Kentucky fan, of course, but with Louisville basketball being relevant again for the first time in a couple of years, downtown's been getting more of a pop, more of a love. It's really helped Whiskey Row. Down One Bourbon Bar, one of my old accounts, it's taken off. So I'm really happy, even though I'm not a Cards fan, I'm happy to see the revivance of or the revival of downtown Louisville. And I think it's helping hotels, it's helping a lot of the restaurants. And I saw them interviewing down there, seeing that it's bringing it back. But I feel like you and we love hitting downtown even when it was slower because it was like we always were trying to find something to do. And Louisville Comedy Club was a place that it's a great vibe. I mean, you only have to purchase two things and you get a great seat, you get a waitress and waiter, and it's big time comedy acts, but it's a low pressure vibe.
Yeah, in Louisville, I mean, it's always been the Comedy Caravan, which they're still around.
Mm.
I think they're still that name, right? They changed and then came back, I think.
Yeah, they're
Anyways,
in the basement.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's great, but like, and then they had the
They actually
improv.
might go away. I forgot Mid City Mall so.
Oh, that's right. I'm not
So
sure
they may
what's
go.
yeah.
I don't know if they're going to transfer.
We'll look into that. But
Yeah.
anyways, but they had that one improv downtown that happened for a little while. They had some really bigger names. I actually accidentally ran into Christina Ricci of all people. She was there. She was dating some comedian at the time. So that was like, anyways, one of my favorite memories. But they had some good acts down there. But it's like I think they were struggling to get people in. You know, 4th Street is a very touristy place.
Oh yeah.
It's hard. So having this Louisville Comedy Club, it's going towards downtown, but it's not on 4th Street. So it's kind of like right on the cusp there. And I mean, it seems like it gets a lot of traffic down there. It's a great venue. I'm actually going to go there with a friend at the end of this month again to see Catherine Blanford. I think I talked about her last time actually on the podcast, but she's actually from here and she actually went to my high school. I'm a little bit older than her, so she was behind me, but it was just funny to have her like when I discovered her and she was talking about like local funny stuff. It was nice to see someone succeed.
Yeah.
Like from Louisville and like she's been on some of the late night shows and stuff. I mean, she's had some specials and stuff. She's funny. Mm-hmm. She's really great.
So. Yeah, that's awesome. And I think they have a really good rotation and they don't go a lot of weeks without having somebody. I know that where I get my haircut, the guy that's in the chair next to Frankie's chair, I think he's a comedian. I've seen him down there, but I think he has some ties to bringing some of the acts in. So I think he'll cut some hair for some of the acts and stuff. I know that he's had people on, but they brought the mailman guy there too. So shout out to the mailman.
Yeah, I remember that. I think one of my favorite shows, honestly, is the Matt Rife show. When he started really popping off, like not everybody likes him. I adore him, mm-hmm. And it's not because I mean, yeah, he's a good looking guy. Come on, but if you really listen to him talk outside of the comedy, he's a smart dude. He's got his head on his shoulders correctly. Now, some of the stuff does hit a nerve here and there, but I think it comes from a good place. He's not just trying to trash talk somebody. He's just trying to make light of the world we live in right now, right? Yeah. But it was really interesting because he started popping off, and he had a show, and I didn't even realize who he was at the Louisville Comedy Club, and I was like, holy shit, like somebody that big in a small venue like that's a score. And so of course I went on there, they're all sold out. Well, then they had some type of package deal where you buy, I don't know, it was $200 something, but it was like one ticket, which was fine. I mean, it was last minute. So I was like, I don't care. I go to stuff by myself all the time. I don't give a shit. So I was like, you know what? Oh God. And it came with a gift certificate, and then it came with some other vouchers to like, so basically getting me back in the door, right? But it was a whole package deal, but I was like, dude, that's a score. I wanted to see him. Having him right there, like just a couple, instead of at the Palace, which I know they had another show with him, which wasn't big great, but it was so, I think the intimacy, like you said, of that venue, especially seeing somebody that like you really like comedic wise and stuff, and like you really adore, like seeing that close up and just that intimate, like old school feel. Mm-hmm. That was a great show. It was hilarious.
And it's also to the vibe of like you seeing anybody up close like that you see on TV a lot and the content, it is a different feel. And I think the thing about him that he did smart, talking about him non-comedy wise, he's in Rhode Island now. So he lives in Rhode Island. He got away from California. He moved his mom to a place up there. And I think the reason why he did it was because of all the land. There was good value, and he could pay he was basically saying how he could pay for a place in LA that's tiny as shit, and he's gonna have to pay all this money. Where in Rhode Island, he can pay $20 million and get a huge thing of land. So I think he definitely did it smart. But also when he mentioned Rhode Island, I just saw this in an interview. That's a state where I don't know shit about it, and like that's a state I've always wanted to visit. And to be honest, if you really think about it, Rhode Island's not talked about a lot.
Mm-mm.
You don't really think about key things. You're like, I think there's Providence, Rhode Island, and I believe there's a couple other towns. I've seen videos where like people done tourism up there for like the seafood and it's got beautiful landscapes, but I couldn't tell you shit about Rhode Island. So
Neither could I.
yeah, and so that'd be kind of a funny show, like just quizzing people on Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Like nobody would know anything about it. Like
Everybody would be speechless.
yeah, like you would have to say like if you're from Rhode Island, you're disqualified. But anybody else, let's give it a run. So that New Mexico, like think about a show called the Rhode Island, New Mexico, West Virginia show, and you're just fucking asking about the three states that nobody talks about. Like you think about it, like throw Montana in there. Like you don't know. There's nothing like there. I'm not saying I say these states have wonderful features. I'm saying there's just nothing common knowledge. Like oh yeah, that's
Maybe
true.
quiet's good though. I mean, Louisville gets a lot of press, but it's
Yeah,
not good press half the time,
yeah,
especially now. So,
Louisville is wild.
I'm get peace of mind.
Mm.
I would love to have something off the grid
Yeah, that
and
would
just
be
away from all the chaos.
cool. It'd be cool, and it'd
Yeah.
also be cool just to even before ever to make a decision, just to explore the place and see it. And I think exploring those places that are untouched, it's really cool too because you share that story with people. It's more interesting because people haven't got the experience.
Yeah.
A lot of times if someone's experienced, oh, I know, but I've seen it. Like they might even have a lower expectation. They might even have a higher expectation than the story you shared. But if you share something about a place they've never been, they're like, wow, that's really intriguing. Like I've never been there. Hold on, that guy, like telling you about the safari, like it had a baboon on your hood. Yeah, it did. Like the baboon jumped on my hood. So at the end of the day, it's like anything crazy can happen like that. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
And I had a lot of fun, and it's always good talking to you. We always talk on random topics, we get on random subjects. So it's always good time, and I know I'll have you on in the future. Before we sign off, I want you to tell people how if they want to connect with you on a verge of just asking you about maybe show recommendations or even just reach out.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, which is probably going away. Who knows? But I'm on Facebook. But probably the easiest is just on Instagram, 3 Bird Night, the number 3 Bird Night.
Okay. And 5and1sleazy.com. Check out the website. I have seasons 1 through 4 up there. Hoping to get 5 and 6 up there soon. Also, Facebook, Instagram, 5and1sleazy, the podcast. I want to thank everybody that's listened, tuned in, and download for the past few episodes. It's been a lot of fun run. I'm glad to be back. This is episode 4. Thank you all. Peace.
Bye.